I'm going to be taking my model quite a bit lighter today. She has about a natural level 5 and some gray that I'm going to be blending away. We're going to be doing a full head of Babylights, and I am starting in the nape. I like to start on a diagonal because I think that when you do, the highlights look so much softer when they're in a ponytail. And so that's really important to me. I always put these little Babylights in on my blonde clients when they come in for partials as well, just so that their hair never starts looking two-tone. I'm not putting them back to back, but they are quite close together. I want the result to be dimensional because she is a brunette. So I don't want it to be like a solid blonde around the hairline. But they're close together for coverage because she is very dark back here. I'm going to work up the head for a little bit in this area because the foils are able to be covering everywhere that I need. So if I split my section in two, I'm just putting more foils than necessary. But when the head widens out, I will start working into panels up the head, like right here. I don't pre-section out my sections too much because I find that I just end up getting caught up in my clips. And I like to be really present when I'm working on a foil pattern. I do know what I want to do, and I know whereabouts my sections are going to be, but I just find that without pre-sectioning, I am more present. However, it's a little bit risky, especially in the back. You can get lost if you don't have a plan. So I am going to do a tip out now. I'm looking for a mid-tone. There's kind of some orangey, brassy pieces in here, and those are the pieces that I want to isolate to lighten. So I take out all the darkest ones and the lightest ones so that I can hit the brassiness. I think it's important when you're tipping out the hair that you want an even, consistent color, if that makes any sense. Because there's blonde and brunette, if I was to just combine them all together, then maybe the brunette wouldn't be lifted enough by the time that the blonde has to be rinsed because of the health of the hair. I actually don't do this service very often anymore. I usually work with teasy lights in the back because it's a lot faster and it creates a beautiful result. But I was challenging myself to do this service because it's been such a long time. And I was actually really happy with how it came out. She does have some gray in the back, and I think that she'll just have quite a bit more longevity. I've been doing hair for a very long time, and I just kind of started to get a little bit, not bored because I love what I do, but I have a very regular clientele. I have a very full clientele. And so I just wasn't doing anything new very often. So I do teach. We have some students that we mentor, my business partner and I. We own a salon and we have an academy as well. And so I've been making these videos for the students, and I have just been really enjoying the process and really enjoying the challenge of learning how to video edit and, film hair color techniques. And I have just decided that I'm going to start doing models again to keep my skills sharp, because when you don't do things, then you do lose them. And it's made me feel a lot more passionate about what I'm doing. When you're doing hair just for the fun of it, it kind of makes you fall in love with your job all over again. So I think I'm just going to continue to keep exploring that. I think that in the beginning of your career, when you're still learning, you're really excited to do models. And then after a while, you just want to make money. And that's really great, but I have kind of come to a place where I need to just be creative and challenge myself with just like new canvases. Around the hairline in the front, I also find that diagonal foils blend the best when the hair is pulled back like into a ponytail. They don't give a lot of coverage in this area, so I am trying to just stack the foils and balance them out, but still maintain a diagonal position. If I pivot them, I will have a lot of depth left. So I still am pivoting them, but very softly. Because I want her to feel blonde. It's not all about this hair at the root, it's also what's going to be falling down and peeking out from below. Again, I'm looking for that orange tone. I'm using a board. I really like this board. It's the best one that I've ever used, and I actually made it myself. Well, no, I didn't make it myself. I went to a plastic supply store and had them cut this board. I felt a bunch of different plastics, and this one just has like a really nice flex. It's got some texture on one side, which makes it good for freehand balayage techniques as well. And it is cut to the same size as the foils that I'm using. These are the Foil Me foils, and we have custom ones for foundation, our Salon and Academy brand. Around the hairline, I am just sort of taking a look and deciding how big that I want to make it. Because this is a creative model, she is pretty open to letting me just play around and do what I want. I am going to make this base frame quite large and just sort of see how it goes. I don't usually do, I think I did like 8 foils back. Lately, I have not been doing my face frames that bold because I think that the trends are a little bit softer. But I am feeling like I want to do something kind of fun. And I'm also not going to keep it ultra blonde. And I think that it's really nice actually to do a really wide face frame and then tone it all down. It looks a lot less stripy than, I think the two strippy pieces of like the money piece, they just need to be elevated. I don't think the money piece or face frame is going anywhere anytime soon because it's fun and I don't know, people like them. However, they need to be elevated. And you can do that with like a tease or with a root shade or just really great placement. So these are back-to-back Babylights. And I don't know if she was like a regular client of mine. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have gone this far, or I would have added a tease at some point. But again, this is me just sort of like having fun. I'm going to come up horizontally. She has fine hair and it's pretty straight, so I find that this technique works best on that texture. If I was to do a mohawk, I just find they look a little bit stripey on straight hair. Unless you're using like a teasing technique, which I'm not. Originally, I was going to film this for my students to teach them a full foil, but they are new students, and this is like a little bit much for your first like foil application. So here I am making my first YouTube video. This is the time when I usually get pretty tired and I'm kind of over foiling, but these are the most important foils of the whole service. And so I'm just going to take a little check at my foils in the back just to make sure they're not over processing. So you kind of have to find it deep within yourself to keep on perfecting and making the foils close enough together so that there's no weird gaps. I started with Davines Progress, I think 15 volume with like a little bit of clay lightener in the back to slow it down because I wasn't sure how well she would lift, and she's lifting like really well. So this last foil is actually like a really spaced out one. It's always kind of tricky what to do with those like very last ones. And these front tip outs, I am going to tuck them. I do need a little bit of heat on them, so tucking them up underneath will give me that. And now I'm going to rinse the back. I actually find this to be very challenging. I've been doing hair for 18 years and I still find this to be very hard to rinse the back foils without disturbing the top too much, and to get them rinsed enough so that the water and the bleach doesn't mix together and make sort of like a warm spot or a bleed spot. I always get them to tilt their head while leaving their neck onto the sink. And I'll usually do like a shampoo or a conditioner and a conditioner, just because the conditioner changes the bleach to acidic from being alkaline and hopefully stops it a little bit more. Also, their hair usually needs a little bit of love at this point. Around the hairline is another place that lifts very quickly, especially when you have that many foils. So I like to just wipe them off. And once they're wiped off, they are not completely dead, but they mostly stop processing once they dry out. I think with doing a longer service and like a big change like this, it's all about these like little details, and you don't always get to see them. I've done a lot of hair education. It just seems like it's so easy to edit out that stuff because it's not really that exciting. I am going in now with Davines Mask, which is like an alkaline. It's a color, like permanent color, but mixed with 5-vol to make it a demi. It will shift her base, however. You can see from the lighter color that she came in with. This is actually what I used on her last time. It does lighten her hair. Her hair lifts like fairly easily. It's like 6N or 6O. I think there was like 5 grams of 6.3 in there just so that the blonde doesn't go too muddy. She does want like a neutral result. And I am going to use 8.0 with a little bit of 8.3 around the hairline. And by using the cream color, she'll have more longevity and it'll also blend the gray. just really trying to make sure that the blonde doesn't touch the brown. I think that it is tricky. You have to just be really careful. And then I'm blending it. I'm actually using a barber comb, which I actually really like to use for my color mounts. And now I'm taking the 8N and I'm just using it as a mid-tone to blend my 6 into the ends. And then I'm going to let it process for 20 minutes. And I will gloss the ends at the sink. I use 10N or 10O with a little tiny bit of 922 in Davines View, just for like not even 5 minutes. I want the hair to be bright. I'm okay if it doesn't have a ton of tone, because sometimes I feel like if you tone the hair and they go home and then it inevitably washes out, then they're almost disappointed. But I find, I don't know, with my blondes, I like them to be a little bit more on the raw side. So the tone, I think, just like closes the cuticle, but then they're not going to go home and see their hair wash out. They're going to know what it's going to look like. That's all personal preference. And now I'm going to take some after photos. This light was really warm and quite dark. Her hair was actually quite a bit lighter outside. As you can see, like in the last bit, there was some definite, almost like whiter pieces, which she really liked.